Jack was an elite sniper. When he received a strange assignment, he was ordered to guard an abandoned watchtower, watching over a seemingly ordinary canyon. Because the mission was highly classified, the aircraft dropped him off 40 kilometers away from the destination. So Jack spent 3 days and 3 nights, traveling on foot until he finally reached the watchtower. The previous guard had already been waiting there for a long time. He told Jack that the watchtower had everything needed for daily life. There was even a small vegetable garden beside the tower, providing fresh food supplies. And his daily duty was actually very simple. He only needed to inspect and maintain all the defensive structures on the western side of the canyon. The eastern side of the canyon was also guarded by soldiers, but the Alliance had strict rules. That personnel from both sides were forbidden from making contact. In reality, even without the rule, the two sides could never reach each other because the entire canyon from south to north was covered with countless mines and obstacles. And even more importantly, the satellite transmitters on both sides created powerful interference, making all signals and communications impossible. Although Tom explained everything in detail, Jack still had one question. Why exactly were they guarding this place? But Tom gave him a mysterious answer.
You need to stop what's in the gorge from coming out.
To help Jack understand what he meant, Tom pulled out a grenade and threw it directly into the canyon. Moments later, a terrifying roar came from below.
What the hell is that?
That is what we call the Hollow Men.
Back in the late 1940s, the Allied forces sent 3 battalions to eliminate those creatures, but not a single soldier survived. So the Alliance built watchtowers around the canyon to stop those monsters from entering the human world. The next day, after completing the handover, Tom packed his belongings and left the watchtower. Jack officially began his lonely duty. Meanwhile, after Tom was picked up by a helicopter, he thought he was finally heading toward retirement, but instead he was greeted by a bullet.
Thank you for your service.
Rotation complete.
Copy that.
Clearly, the company where Sievers worked was hiding a major secret inside the canyon. At the same time, Jack continued his routine, patrolling the area every day, checking the fences and defensive weapons along the canyon, making sure all satellite transmitters were working properly, and sending regular radio reports back to headquarters. Although guarding the watchtower seemed easy, being alone for such a long time slowly made Jack feel more and more bored. He started running out of inspiration for writing poems. Even his nightly drink before bed could no longer help him fall asleep quick. But one day, when he went outside to pick vegetables, he suddenly heard strange noises coming from the other side of the canyon. Curious, he immediately returned to the tower and looked through his binoculars. What he saw left him completely stunned. The guard on the opposite side was actually a beautiful young woman. Now things suddenly became interesting. But knowing there were strict rules against contact, Jack continued living his lonely routine, until one day he suddenly heard a gunshot from the other side. He immediately looked over and discovered the girl had sent him a message using a piece of cardboard. He quickly signaled for her to wait, then grabbed a board to reply. But the first thing she wrote was, "No communication allowed." Could he really accept that? The girl then used the cardboard to tell him her name was Anya, and today was her birthday, so she could do whatever she wanted. Jack smiled. Since she was being so sincere, he decided to stop holding back and raised his glass to wish her a happy birthday. From that moment, the two began communicating through boards across the hundreds of meters wide canyon. Anya asked Jack to dance for her, but Jack said he did not know how. Anya asked what he was good at then. Jack immediately replied that he was good with a gun. Anya placed a bottle on the railing and told him to prove his shooting skills. Jack smiled. Thinking she had to be joking, he turned around to leave. But the next second, since she insisted, Jack picked up his pistol. However, Anya clearly was not finished playing. She placed another bottle on top of her head, but before Jack could fire, Anya suddenly lowered the bottle, turned off all the speakers, and signaled Jack to look down into the canyon. Because it was obvious, the Hollow Men were finally about to appear. The woman who had been smiling just moments ago suddenly saw something terrifying. She quickly unplugged all the speakers and signaled Jack to look down into the canyon. Several strange figures were slowly climbing toward the western tower. Jack immediately raised his AK. When he finally got a clear look at the creatures, even he was shocked by their horrifying appearance. He quickly snapped back to his senses and opened fire. Seeing there were far too many enemies, Anya immediately activated the machine gun turret on the opposite side and unleashed a barrage of fire toward the western cliff. With Jack's precise shots and Anya's covering fire, the grotesque creatures were soon blasted back into the canyon. But before either of them could relax, the eastern watchtower also came under attack. The monsters had human-like faces, covered with branches and twisted horns. Anya immediately opened fire. But one of the creatures fell from the tower and accidentally struck a suspended mine. Near the edge of the canyon, the explosion sent fragments flying into Anya. Seeing her injured, Jack quickly raised his own turret and poured heavy fire toward the opposite side. Fortunately, Anya soon forced herself back onto the gun platform. The two machine guns roared like walls of fire, setting the entire canyon ablaze. As more traps hidden along the cliffs were triggered, the automated defense guns on both sides of the watchtower finally activated. Streams of gunfire crossed through the canyon, creating an impenetrable defensive network. No matter how many monsters charged forward, none of them could break through.